Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am just Mike. You are watching and you are listening to episode number 32 of the Rock On Wild Show. Now, if you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below this very video. You can also like or dislike this episode of the Rock On Wild Show as well, and share this episode of the Rock Out Wild Show to everyone you know, from your family, your friends, your co-workers, to basically just tell everyone about the Rock Out Wild Show in general, and spread this episode, number 32, around as well, because in the main event, I will be talking about Within Temptation, who is one of my favorite symphonic metal bands of all time. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I premiered episode number 30, where I went over my top 30 favorite bands of all time that I discovered online. And I already went over Nonpoint's, my number one favorite band, Nonpoint, on there. I think it's only fitting I start covering some of the other bands that were on this list. And I'm going to start close to the very top of that list, because at number 2 of that top 30 was Within Temptation. So I'm deciding to rank my top 30 favorite Within Temptation songs of all time, as well as all 8 of their albums ranked from my least favorite to my most favorite. It's all completely subjective. Now, as of this recording, it is July 24th, 2025, and this episode will be aired on August 6th, 2025. Before I get into some of the things that happened like on this day and a movie reaction for you all, it is July the 24th as I'm recording this, and on this day, I come to find out that Hulk Hogan passed away. Hulk Hogan left a very complicated legacy, to say the very least. The guy is an icon, a legend in the wrestling business. Without Hogan, wrestling would not be as popular as it would be today. But in the same time, you got to take the good with the bad. He was known to be a compulsive liar. He said some racist stuff years back. The whole dysfunctional family with the Hogans and all that stuff. But you know what? Like I said, you got to take the good with the bad. There's positives and there's negatives with everybody. And so he left definitely an impact on his life and the wrestling business. And that's all I have to say about Hulk Hogan. Also, a couple of days ago, a musician passed away. From July the 22nd, I do believe it was, Ozzy Osbourne. He was battling on Parkinson's. He wasn't healthy, but he lived life to the fullest. Talented musician, one of the best. When you think of metal and rock and roll, one of the first few people that pops into my mind is Ozzy Osbourne. So he left a really cool legacy as well. So with all that being said, let's kick off episode number 32 of the Rock Out Wild Show with a reaction for you all to an old movie review of mine, a movie called Fury. This is a war movie and it has a whole bunch of actors in it. I guess I will get into it once this recording goes along. So let's start cooking this up for you all. So let's start the webcam up and say hi to everyone watching and listening to this all around the world. How are you all doing? And let's react to my movie review for Fury. I'm just going to get my seat adjusted here. Perfect. All right. So let's present, share screen, make sure the audio is on. Let's go to the Fury review. And look at that. It's about 10 minutes long. And let's put it up full screen. It's almost 11 minutes long, so let's get right into it. In 3, 2, 1. I'm just adjusting the volume. I'm stalling at 1, and go.
Alright, people, time to choose a side. Would you rather be stuck with 5 a-holes stuck in a claustrophobic tank, or a bunch of German Nazis? Yep, those are your only choices. Pick your poison, because this ain't going to be pretty.
Option number 1 for me, thanks.
Hey, what is up, all movie fans out there in the movieverse? Welcome to the Mike McRock Movie Review YouTube channel. Right now I'm going to talk about a movie, and it is called Fury. And this movie is based off a true story that takes place back in 1945 during the Second World War. And what this movie is about, it is about a 5 people that are stuck in a tank for a day or two, and they have to overcome all the obstacles and overcome everything possible to win the war against the German Nazis. And
Yikes.
this movie
Yikes.
is very hard hitting. It's very violent. It's very
Yep.
brutal.
Yep.
This is a war flick to the core, because to me, a war flick shouldn't be about, hey, we won, let's get a medal. No. That's not what a war flick should be. A war flick should be very brutal, very violent, very hard hitting, sometimes disturbing, and really just downright dirty. And this movie delivered all those elements incredibly well. This movie was directed very well. This movie was written very good.
Oh, yeah.
There are some nitpicky things that I will get to later on, but let's just talk about the characters in this movie, starting with Brad Pitt. Now, normally, I'm not a huge fan of his movies because I think that sometimes Brad Pitt doesn't act. He doesn't have a lot of substance in his characters in his recent movies, such as Mr. and Mrs. Smith or World War Z. But he actually proved me wrong in this movie. I thought that his character actually had a lot of humanity and depth to his character.
I'm going to pause this for a moment. I will say this: Brad Pitt as an actor is starting to slowly grow on me now because of the whole thing with the line from Seven. You know, what's in the box? And about a year or so ago, I watched a movie called Fight Club. You know, we don't talk about Fight Club at all, but his acting in that, I love it. So you know, the more I watch Brad Pitt's decent movies, good movies out there, the more he's actually growing on me as an actor.
Outstanding by Brad Pitt. He actually acted with a lot of substance. And he was not only a really good actor in this movie, but an asshole as well. Wow. And it kind of made me not root for him during a lot of portions of this movie. But I found myself at the end of this movie, I kind of was rooting for him afterwards. And I'll explain why they were assholes and how I think it's justified along with their characters as well. Also, we also have Logan Lerman, who plays this clerk typist who clearly does not belong in the war. And
Logan Lerman,
and his character, his name is Norman Elson. And even though I thought he was a good actor in this movie, I just found that the concept of his character was just a little bit too cliched. And that's the picky issue I had when it comes to the character aspects of this movie. You also had Shia LaBeouf in this movie, and he surprised me here. And I just have one piece of advice for Shia. Keep your name out of the tabloids. You will do just great. And with that being said, he was really great in this movie. He was this Bible thumper who was always reading his Bible. He was well into character, and that mustache really stuck out. It was kind of hard to see Shia LaBeouf with a mustache, but I kind of got used to it because for some reason he didn't look like Shia. He didn't look like that guy that was in the past Transformers movies. So with that being said, I was actually kind of surprised, and I thought that Shia LaBeouf done a really good job in this movie. You also had Micah Pena in this movie as well. He was really good, and like I said, all these guys were complete dicks because they were bullying the new kid.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Michael Pena, even though he was an asshole, he was kind of funny about it, so he did have a redeeming quality to his character. Now, with all that being said, like I said, the performances in this movie were incredibly well.
They were.
And that's what this movie delivered. Great performances.
Yep.
This movie delivered great action scenes. And I bought into the action scenes. They were very suspenseful. I was really rooting for the young kid in this movie. To me, he came across as a little bit sympathetic in a cliche type of way. Like I said, the most uninteresting. Even though I thought he was the most uninteresting character, doesn't mean that he was a good actor, and I thought he was. I mean, there was a moment in this movie where Brad Pitt went against the kid's moral code. He actually tried to get him to shoot someone who was unarmed and begging for his life.
Oh yeah, that
And
happened.
I thought, wow, I really can't stand Brad Pitt anymore.
Mhm.
And that's a problem. When the star of the show, the so-called face, if you want to go WWE terms, or the good guy in this movie, that I can't stand him, I shouldn't react that way to good guys because they were just so mean and nasty to the kid. Even this one guy by the name of Kunas, I mean, the name says it all. So
Yeah,
he
that's
was
true.
the lowest of bullies and complete dicks and idiots. And the guy just constantly picked on the young kid, and the people that were in the tank really done nothing about it, which made me hate them even more. So, with that being said, I just couldn't get behind the characters in this movie. I just wanted to see him get all blown up except for the kid. And that's a problem.
I agree.
But, like I
Yeah, that
said,
is
I
a
found
problem.
myself at the end, I started to root a little bit more with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said as well, I also thought that the characters themselves, to me, we could have seen a little bit more backstory, like how they got where they are, like the beginning of their career to where they are now inside the tank and in the war. Even the young kid as well as a clerk typist, I would have liked to seen him how he got in this position. More of that would have been nice. And there was also a dinner scene in this movie. Now, this is where I'm going to uh, come up with something that to me should have been different. There is a dinner scene in this movie where it kind of uh, slowed the pace down, but I
Okay.
understand why this movie had
Oh
to
yeah,
slow
yeah,
the pace down is because
yeah. That dinner scene.
the director wanted breathing air for the audience to go, okay,
That is true.
enough with the brutality for a second. Let's just, take a deep breath, drag it out a little bit. I thought it was done too much, and the scene, the dinner scene with the two women, to me, kind of didn't do anything at all. It didn't develop any characters at all. It didn't do anything with substance. I just found that scene unnecessary. If that scene was removed, the
Removed.
movie would probably come out overall maybe a little bit stronger than it should have been. And here's what I would have done
Either that or trim that scene down for at least a couple of minutes.
differently. Instead of having a dinner scene, there was a point where one guy was talking to Brad Pitt and saying, "We got to go to a new destination for new bad guys to kill." And what I would have done is that, say, if they're riding inside the tank and the camera shoots at all of the characters, pan to one character and
Mhm.
then give us a backstory
Yeah,
with that character and do the
Mhm.
same with every single character.
yeah,
That's what I
Mhm.
would have done to
Definitely.
contribute some not only character development but a backstory as well.
Yeah,
That's what I would have done differently in this movie.
I love that assessment.
What also this movie done very well is that it told a really good story, even though it wasn't really much of a story. It was kind of like a slice of life kind of story. There wasn't much story
Slice
to
of
it. It
life.
really didn't. You really didn't need to have a story, to be honest, because the movie is only shot in a day.
That's
So
true.
again, it's just one of those things where you could just develop character with the story aspect. But overall, I thought this movie wasn't excellent movie. It was actually better than I expected it was going to be, and like I said, I just couldn't get behind the characters. They were dicks, they were assholes, but to me,
Yep.
it's justified because when you're in a war and you're in the war for all these years and you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to die, so I'm just going to be a dick. So to me, everyone being dicks and assholes in this movie, to me, was justified because of what they went through. And like I said, the little things matter in this movie as well. I mean, there's a scene where a tank was riding in
You know, I kind of did contradict myself there, but I'll just continue to move on.
the mud, and there was a dead person there. And the tank just went over that dead body, and I was thinking, wow, that just gave me chills. It just shows how hard this life is inside the war. And this movie, like I said, done a tremendous, tremendous job of delivering the goods in this movie. So I'm gonna go pretty high, but with the nitpickies, I might give this movie a little bit lower because of those, but overall, I was enjoyed by this movie. The action scenes were great. They were intense, suspenseful. I was just rooting for that young kid all along, and Brad Pitt at the end, of course. So overall, I'm rating this movie 82 points out of 100.
82.
And
Not
I
bad.
would recommend this
Not
movie
bad.
to you because if you don't see this movie, I will be furious. And that's what I did there. So if you saw this movie, what did you
Lame.
think about it? Comment
Lame.
below, let me know. And also you can hit that subscribe button down below this video to get Mick Rocks.
Yeah, so that was my reaction to my own movie review for Fury. There is one actor I didn't bring up in that initial review, and that's the actor John Bernthal, who was also in this movie. I didn't mention him by name, and I think the reason why is because I didn't know who John Bernthal was at that time. Because later on, after Fury, he went on to become the Punisher. And to me, the best Punisher that's out there currently. And a bunch of other stuff as well. He's in The Accountants 1 and 2, and the movies and stuff, and television and stuff. He was in the movie Wind River for a couple of minutes, somewhere in the middle of it. So I think that's the only reason why I didn't mention John Bernthal by name, is because I didn't know who he was then. But he's done other stuff later on that he's much more known well for. That's the reason why. That's my reaction to my movie review for Fury. Now let's get into some of this. Let's repeat that again. Now let's get into some of the stuff that happened on this day for August the 6th. So let's start share screening. And let's talk about some wrestling. Let's see what happened on this day in the world of professional wrestling for August the 6th. There's a picture of Tajiri right there holding the title. And so let's see. In 1993, on a house show in Sheffield, England, Hulk Hogan defeats WWF champion Yokozuna by disqualification. This one proved to be Hogan's last match under the WWF banner until his return to the company in February 2002. And like I said earlier in my video for this, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan, brother. In 2001, Tajiri defeated X-Pac on Monday Night Raw to win the WWF Light Heavyweight title. It was his only run with the belt, and he lost it back to X-Pac 2 weeks later. And in 2007, Vince McMahon returned to Monday Night Raw after the Who Killed Mr. McMahon angle was dropped. McMahon set up a 20-man battle royal to determine who would be named the general manager of Raw. The battle royal was won by William Regal. It's a light news day on this day for wrestling. And let's see, we got some wrestlers born on this day on August the 6th. We got Jimmy Valiant, born in 1942. We got Dino Bravo, and the less I've spoken to him, the better. He was born in 1947 on August the 6th. Then we got Bram, born in 1986, and Jeddah, born in 1987. Those are all the things that happened on this day in the world of professional wrestling. Now let's look at some of the things that happened on this day in the world of music for August the 6th. So we got a picture of the Beatles right there. And let's see what happened. On August 6, 1965, the Beatles released their highly anticipated fifth album, Help, which also served as the soundtrack to their film of the same name. Half of the 14 songs on the LP appeared in the movie, including the title track, Ticket to Ride, and You're Going to Lose That Girl. Side B, meanwhile, featured the ballad Yesterday, which became one of the most covered songs ever in popular music history. Help went on to top the charts in the US, UK, Australia, and Germany, and became the first rock album to earn an Album of the Year nomination at the Grammys. Also on this day in 1960, Chubby Checker performed his enduring cover of Hank Ballard in the Midnighters' The Twist on American Bandstand. Weeks later, the song went to number 1. The hit would return to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 nearly 2 years later, in January 1962, making it the first song to reach the position of 2 separate runs. Mariah Carey would break the record 50 years later with All I Want for Christmas Is You. God, that song is torturous. In 1970, the Festival for Peace took place at New York City's Shea Stadium, 25 years after the Hiroshima bombing in Japan. The star-studded concert raised funds for anti-war political candidates and included sets by Paul Simon, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Dionne Warwick, Miles Davis, Steppenwolf, and Janis Joplin. On August 6, 1981, Stevie Nicks released her solo debut, Belladonna, while still a member of Fleetwood Mac. The album included such hits as Edge of 17, Stop Dragging My Heart Around with Tom Petty, and Leather and Lace with Don Henley. In 1963, Bob Dylan, Everybody Must Get Stoned. All impersonations aside, 1963, Bob Dylan entered Columbia Records studios to begin recording his legendary third album, The Times They Are A-Changin', with producer Tom Wilson. The record would be Dylan's first to be comprised of solely original compositions. In 1982, Pink Floyd's The Wall opened in New York. Adapted from the band's 1979 album of the same name, the film starred Bob Geldof, while it was only available in one theater. Initially, it grossed an astonishing $68,000 in its first weekend. It would later expand to hundreds of cinemas and gross $22 million over the next year. Just don't let Channel Awesome dictate that biopic at all. I'm just saying. And in 2004, Rick James was found dead in his Los Angeles home. The 56-year-old singer and songwriter was best known for hits such as Super Freak and Give It To Me Baby. We have some birthdays here in the world of music. On August 6th, we got Andy Warhol, born on 1929. Born in 1939 is Sonny Sanders, who is a singer, songwriter, arranger, and founder of the first vocal group to sign to Motown Records, the Singtones, or the Satan Tones. Yeah, that's what it is. 1946, Alan Halsworth, guitarist and composer, born in 1946. Born in 1958, Randy DeBarge from DeBarge. And then born 1969, Elliott Smith. Those are all the things that happened on this day in the world of music. And for the final on this day installment on episode 32 of the Rock Out Wild Show, I'm going to take a look at on this day in the world of film and television for August the 6th. In 1926, Don John, starring John Barrymore, is released by Warner Brothers, the first feature-length film to utilize the Vitaphone sound on disc system with a synchronized musical score and sound effects. That's an interesting, nice little piece of trivia right there. In 1932, first Venice Film Festival opens, the world's oldest film festival. In 1939, first broadcast of the Dinah Shore Show on NBC Radio. In 1940, German occupiers in Belgium imposed censorship rules on filmmaking and exhibition. In 1954, WLAC, now WTVF, TV Channel 5 in Nashville, CBS begins broadcasting. In 1956, after going bankrupt in 1955, the American national broadcaster Dumont Television Network makes its final broadcast a boxing match from St. Nicholas Arena. In 1960, Chubby Checker performed his version of Hank Ballard's The Twist. We've been through this before. On the Dick Clark Show, starting a worldwide dance craze. Couldn't be worse than Gangnam Style. Just saying. In 1965, Beatles released their fifth UK album, Help, from the film soundtrack. In 1971, third San Diego Comic-Con International opens at Merck College, University of California. In 1987, 20th San Diego Comic-Con International opens at the Holiday Inn. Those damn Yankees. In 1995, revival of Richard Elder and Jerry Ross musical comedy Damn Yankees, starring Jerry Lewis and Bebe Neuwirth, closes at Mercuse Theater, New York City, after 519 performances. And Jon Stewart signs off in 2015 on August the 6th. American comedian Jon Stewart hosts late-night talk and satirical news program The Daily Show for the last time. In 2018, Facebook, Apple, YouTube, and Spotify removed conspiracy theorist Alex Jones from their platforms. I wonder why that is. In 2023, Barbie passes 1 billion global box office. Its director Greta Gerwig is the first solo female filmmaker to do so. And those are all the things that happened on this day in the world of film and television. I am going to open up a quick tab for a moment before I get into the main event, which I'll talk about in just a couple of moments. And it all has to do with a band, one of my favorite symphonic metal bands of all time, Within Temptation. They are from the Netherlands. And let's get this going. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is time for the main event for episode number 32 of the Rock Out Wild Show. And this will be my top 30 favorite Within Temptation songs of all time. And I'm going to rank their albums from number 8 to number 1, from my least favorite to most favorite. Let's dive right into this list, starting with the songs. Now, Within Temptation has over 100 songs in their discography, in their library. They have a bunch, and I narrowed it down to 30, and here is the list. Now, before I get to my top 30 favorite within Temptation songs of all time. Here are some honorable mentions: Bleed Out, Shot in the Dark, Pearls of Light, It's the Fear, Our Farewell, The Swan Song, and In Vain. Now let's get into my top 30 within Temptation songs of all time, from my least favorite to most favorite. Coming in at number 30, it is Ice Queen. Number 29, Faster. At number 28, one of the more underrated songs, The Other Half of Me. At number 27 on this list, Pale, a really good ballad. Number 26, Stairway to the Skies. One of the only two songs that I know that has the word stairway in the title. The other is a Led Zeppelin tune. Number 25 on this list, See Who I Am. Number 24, Angels. And number 23 on this list is Frozen. Number 22, Memories. And then number 21, Hand of Sorrow. Now we get into the top 20 portion of this list, and coming in at number 20, it is Raise Your Banner. At number 19, Mother Earth. And number 18 on this list is Jillian, I'd Give My Heart. And number 17, Utopia. Number 16, All I Need. And number 15 on this list is Paradise, What About Us? And number 14, The Cross. And number 13, one of their best ballads, Forgiven. And number 12, a song that's known as the greatest duet ever, but it's actually performed by Sharon herself. That is Somewhere. And at number 11 is Our Solemn Hour. Now we got only 10 songs remaining, and coming in at number 10 is one of their most recent, Don't Pray For Me. At number 9, the title track to their album, The Heart of Everything. And number 8 is The Howling. And number 7, Stand My Ground. And number 6, Enter, the title track to their album, Enter. And number 5, Deceiver of Fools. And number 4, What Have You Done, featuring Keith Caputo. Then we got 3 remaining. At number 3, the first song that introduced me to Within Temptation, that is Restless. And number 2, The Promise. And my favorite Within Temptation song of all time is The Truth Beneath the Rose. And a little known fact, their song The Truth Beneath the Rose was used for a commercial for the show The Tudors way back when. So that is my top 30 favorite Within Temptation songs of all time. And now I'm going to rank my favorite albums by Within Temptation, all of their 8 studio albums, from my least favorite to the most favorite. And for this, I'm going to start share screening a list that I have up, and that is a list of all their albums right here. So we got Enter, that came out in 1997, Mother Earth, that came out in 2000. Then we got Stellar Force, that came out in 2004. Then we have The Heart of Everything from 2007. Then we have The Unforgiving from 2011, Hydra in 2014, Resist in 2019, and Bleed Out just a couple of years ago in 2023. How do I rank all of these albums from my least favorite to most favorite? Well, let's kick it off. Coming in at number 8 on this list is an album that's right here, Hydra. This is one of my rare albums that I do not like at all. In fact, I've only maybe listened to this once or twice. And after that, I couldn't after with this. This was released in January 22nd, 2014. This is their worst album in the pack, and there's a big reason why. This album, I feel like it's just too light. It's too commercial. and it's not heavy. I don't find the heaviness to this. And here's a list of their track listing songs. The only song that really stands out to me as a really good song on this is track number 4, Paradise, What About Us, featuring Tara, who's a former singer of Nightwish. So that's the only really good song that's on this list. The other decent one is Let Us Burn, but everything else I do not like. And we have a song called Dangerous featuring Howard Jones, and to me that's just an afterthought on this album. Dog Days, covered by Roses, Silver Moonlight, The Whole World Is Watching. A lot of these songs just don't have a lot of emotional weight to them. I don't remember them at all, and they just don't pack a punch at all. So that's the reason why Hydra is my least favorite album of the bunch. Coming in at number 7 on this list is Resist. This album came following after Hydra, and I thought it was a step in the right direction. This was a decent album. In fact, when they were starting to do touring, after this album was released, I saw them in Toronto at the Rebel, and what a really good show it was. So yeah, this album is a step up from Hydra, definitely, and three of the biggest reasons why it's a step up from Hydra is because The Reckoning is a really good song, Raise Your Banner is a really good song, and In Vain is a really good song. I mentioned In Vain in my honorables. And Endless War is a decent one. Mad World is a decent one. Trophy Hunter is an underrated Within Temptation song as well. Yeah, this is an album I don't listen to a lot, but I would definitely go back and refresh my memory to check some of these songs out and the whole album in general. Supernova is one that is a pretty good Within Temptation song as well. It's a decent album with decent songs on here. Coming in at number 6 on this list, The Unforgiving. This is a concept album, and as you see from the album art, it's it's all about the comic book world, and they really done a tremendous job with the whole idea of the concept art and the concept album of this record. It's a decent album post symphonic metal. This was when they were starting to die down on the symphonic metal around this time. So their songs still sounded good, and uh, they still carry some emotional weight to them, even though their best albums are far gone by then. So the reasons why The Unforgiving is a really good album is because of songs like Shot in the Dark, In the Middle of the Night, Fire and Ice is a really good one. Stairway to the Skies, the closing track, is a really good way to close out this album. My dad likes the song Faster, and good ballad. Track number 9, that is a really, really good ballad. And that's the reason why, this album overall is a pretty good album. So that's The Unforgiving at number 6 on this list. Coming in at number 5 is their latest, Bleed Out. This album is far distance from what they have done in the past. Again, another major step up from Resist. And that's why I think this is a better album than Resist. There's a little bit more of a gut punch to this record. So we'll take a look at the track listing on this list. My favorite songs on this album are Bleed Out, Wireless, Don't Pray For Me, I think is the best song on here, and Entertain You is a decent song as well. Yeah, this is one I went back to every now and then as time went on, and this ended up being one of my top 3 favorite albums of 2023. So that's the reason why it's at number 5 on this list. Coming in at number 4. Now we're going to starting to get into Within Temptation's original 4 albums, which to me are the best albums in their discography. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So what is my number 4 favorite Within Temptation album? Well, it is their very first. Their album Enter, and there is the studio art right there. This was released on April 7th, 1997. And my favorite songs on this album are those first 3 right there. Restless, which I mentioned earlier, was the first song that introduced me to Within Temptation. Then we have the title track, Enter, and Pearls of Light. Candles is a really good one. Gatekeeper is a good one. There's an instrumental on there, Bloodied. And Georgia Ooztooth is featured in a song called Deep Within. That's how far back he goes with Within Temptation. And when it comes to this very first album, the reason why this is a far distance from the work after this is because this album feels more like a doom and gloom, well, kind of like a doom metal type of album, more so than a symphonic metal album. You still have those symphonic elements within each song in this record, but this feels more like a doom metal type of thing. It's more doom and gloom, which I still love. Probably the most underrated album in their discography, if I might add. So that's Enter, coming in at number 4 on this list. Coming in at number 3, it is their second album, Mother Earth. You can ask any diehard Within Temptation fan, they'll probably tell you Mother Earth is one of the best albums, and I absolutely agree with it. I mean, take a look at this track listing right here. We have the title track, Mother Earth. Then we have their most popular hit of all time, Ice Queen. And then we have a really good slow ballad in Our Farewell. And then we have one of their, I'm going to skip through track 4, but one of the most epic Within Temptation songs of all time, The Promise, as well as Deceiver of Fools. I'm not a fan of the song Dark Wings for some reason. I don't know what it is. It's just one that never really clicked with me at all. And the only other thing is, track 8 being an intro, you would think that an intro would be the very first track because it is an intro. That's the only other nitpick that I have with it, but the songs on this are tremendous. And the last track on this record, In Perfect Harmony, you look at the title of that song, In Perfect Harmony, and you can guess how that song would sound like. And it sounds exactly what the title gives you. It is In Perfect Harmony. We also have some limited edition release bonus tracks like World of Make Believe, and there's a few of them here. Bittersweet is one as well. That's a really good slow ballad. So the Mother Earth, that's my number 3 favorite Within Temptation album of all time. Where am I going? Okay. I am going to their discography. Coming in at number 2, and coming in at number 2 on my favorite Within Temptation albums of all time, it is their third album, The Son of the Force. And one of the things that really popped to me is that visual of that album cover. That's one of my favorite album covers of all time. And the reason why I love the Sound of the Force is because they have intro at the very first number one track, which is something Mother Earth, I think, should have taken notes from. I'm just saying. But this album has some really, really good songs on here. See Who I Am, Jillian, Stand My Ground, Pale, Forsaken is a very underrated one. And then we get into Angels and Memories. A lot of these are Black Symphony songs. And if you don't know what Black Symphony is, that is their big concert that they held in 2008. Watch that. You should check it out. It's the Fear. That was one of the first songs I've listened to by Within Temptation. Aquarius is another underrated one. And we got their ballad Somewhere at the very last track. We also have some bonus tracks on here as well. We have A Dangerous Mind, the Swan Song, and Jane Doe. Those are all underrated Within Temptation songs. And that is a list I will definitely post on YouTube once after, sometime in the future after this video. I'll think of a top 10 most underrated Within Temptation songs, and not necessarily the popular ones like Ice Queen and Stand My Ground, but songs like A Dangerous Mind and Jane Doe are some of the most underrated Within Temptation songs as well. We got demo versions of it as well, and live stuff. So The Sound of Force, easily my runner-up favorite album by Within Temptation, but there is only one album by Within Temptation that I think is the very best. That is their fourth album, The Heart of Everything. To me, this album has Within Temptation's greatest hits all over. Every single song on this album I hold in absolute high regard, and I mean high regard. Let's take a look at every single song on this album. We have The Howling. We have What Have You Done? Frozen. Our Solemn Hour. The Heart of Everything. Hand of Sorrow. The Cross. Oh, love The Cross. Final Destination. All I Need. My number one favorite is on here, The Truth Beneath the Rose, and their ballad Unforgiven. This is this almost feels like a greatest hits record, to be honest with you. This has every fantastic song you can think of. Besides the very few that are on other previous and after albums, just look at this. Just look at this track list, and you cannot tell me that's not one of their best albums. You can't. And we have some European iTunes Story Edition bonus tracks, as well as some live stuff. And there's a special edition of a DVD on here as well, which is really cool. And a North American Standard Edition of the Heart of Everything is on here as well, where they have What Have You Done? Both versions on here, which is great. Then we have some iTunes Store bonus tracks like Blue Eyes and Sounds of Freedom. Those are really underrated Within Temptation songs as well. And that is my favorite Within Temptation songs of all time, and my favorite Within Temptation albums ranked from worst to best. Worst being Hydra, the best being The Heart of Everything. That is my top 8 favorite Within Temptation albums of all time. And as you heard earlier, those were my top 30 favorite songs of Within Temptation. And this has been episode number 32 of the Rock On Wild Show. And I'm going to leave you with a bit of quotes. And it goes something like this: You deserve to prioritize self-care. In the midst of life's demands, remember that taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. Make time for activities that bring you joy and peace. Whether it's a quiet walk in nature, reading a good book, or simply resting. These moments of self-care are essential for your well-being. Embrace this time as a gift to yourself, a chance to recharge and nurture your mind, body, and soul. You are worthy of this care and attention. I am your host, Just Mike, and this has been episode number 32 of The Rock Out Wild Show. And on a final note, to all of you watching and to all of you listening to this all around the world, get plenty of rest and always do your best.